So over to Rena. Rena, if you could do a brief introduction of yourself, and then we'll go about how you can help all of us.
Okay.
Yeah.
So again, it's just great to see all of you and to hear a little bit about your businesses. I am a business consultant. So I own a company called Transition Point Business Advisors in the US. And we specialize in helping companies as they go through transitions, whether that is ownership transitions. So I work a lot with family owned and run businesses. So the transitions around that, leadership development, strategic planning are the three areas that I specialize in. And as a product of that, I do a lot of executive coaching, which has to do a lot with mindset, creative thinking, being adaptable, making hard decisions. And so I think right now, given the situation we're all in, I'm getting all of those skills put to the test big time right now. So I've been doing this for a long time. I started doing consulting work in 2006. So spent a few years in India with some of you, getting to know you, and I've been back in the US now for 4 years. So
your transition from India to US,
I did, yes.
So Rena, could you briefly tell us, you were part of the BNI India, and one or two things which you did, which which you really transitioned the business and took it to the next level.
Yeah, so in working in India, I was the franchise director for BNI India for those. I worked 3 years, and then I stayed an additional 4th year and started a consulting company in Delhi. And in the 3 years that I got to spend with you, we had some massive growth during that time. So we had 800 members at the time that I started in India. And when I left, we were just slightly over 10,000. And so we had done that in about a 3-year time span. Now, of course, the business has gone insane. So much growth has occurred since I've left. It's been really exciting to see that happen. And yeah, so it was just a really fun time of getting people excited and getting their networks activated and putting some structure around networking. So it was just a really exciting time to be there. I'm very fortunate to have gotten to spend those 3 years that I was in India. It was amazing.
So Rena, when you had come into BNI India for the first time, a lot of regions were there which were not able to pick up growth and all. So a couple of regions like Ahmedabad, Delhi, Kolkata, these you managed to literally raise them from the dead into performing regions. What is one or two things strategy which you used with them, which you could share with us, to convince them? Yes.
Yeah, I think the main thing in any sort of growth initiative, and this goes for everybody. This is not just a BNI BNI problem to solve. It really is about who are the people that you're identifying as your partners. So, when you're going into growth, you really have to find the people that are inspired by your vision, and you have to really be super clear about expectations. So I think that that's one thing that we tend to go into agreements in a fairly loose way as entrepreneurs. We find people that we like, and we think that they are as excited as we are, and then we're not very clear about how we're going to do business together, and then we disappoint each other. Either they're disappointing us or we're disappointing them, and then we find that we've spent a lot of time and energy trying to move the needle in some way, and we find that we've maybe not moved the needle at all, we've actually gone backwards. So I would say that that was, in terms of the BNI strategy, that was something that I was very fortunate to have sort of discovered and put to play, is the right people are everything. And when you have the right people put together, there's nothing that you can't do. And when there's the wrong people together, it's almost, the question is, what can you do when the wrong people are together? So I was very fortunate. There was amazing people. Sam, you were part of that. Dr. Sanjeev. There was so many people that were, inspired by the vision that the directors had, and, truly helped me, because I knew very little about your culture. I knew very little about the way that business was done. And had I not had great people around me, there would have been not one thing I could have done on my own. I would have been packed back to the United States in about 2 weeks. But thankfully, we had lots of great people who were just amazing. And I think that was the key to success for BNI India. And it still is today. It's absolutely the key people that are in BNI and the way that they're working together. Absolutely the reason why there's so much success for that company there.
Absolutely. Rina, one of the things which you as a director used to always have the carrot approach and not the stick approach. A lot of times, people use both, but you always manage to use the carrot approach. And how did that, I mean, and you were able to get your way and people are listening to you. So tell us something about that.
So, people are funny things. Like, no matter who you are, nobody likes to be told what to do, right? And when you're an entrepreneur, that's even more on steroids, right? If you're an entrepreneur, you're an entrepreneur for a reason. And when somebody tells you what to do, what is the immediate thing that your brain does? It says, nope, I'm not doing that, right? That's just the way we are wired as humans. And so, one of the things I think is really important, especially if you're trying to grow, is you have to figure out what the person that you're trying to engage with, what is it that they really want or need, and how can you help them to achieve that in whatever way that is. And so, whenever we start telling, and especially with employees, if we start telling employees things, we're never going to get the best out of them. But when we tap into what their motivations are, we can get a long ways with very little effort. And so the stick is the telling and the carrot is the motivator, right? And there's times you have to tell. There's no doubt. There's times where there's a bottom line to everything, and sometimes you do have to tell, but I always say use that as the very last resort. And don't be surprised if that's the stick is what gets that person to exit your life. So you have to be ready for that if that's what you're going to use.
Rina, what's one thing you miss about India?
Oh my goodness, I miss all you people. Seriously, I miss it. I miss all your joy and just your amazing zest for life. And I would be foolish to say that I didn't miss your food, because yes, I also miss your food. So Sanjeev, you talking about being in the kitchen, you made me really hungry.
Oh, great. Okay, so Rina, tell us about the new thing what you're doing right now. You moved to US and then you're doing something new.
Yeah, so it's not really new, right? This is basically what I've been doing the entire time I've been in consulting, which is just helping business owners, move the needle inside their business and to become better business owners themselves, right? To have a bigger business, you have to be a better leader at every level. So your business can only grow to the level that you yourself have the capacity to take it to. So my sort of mission is to help people get past roadblocks. So if your business is stalled, why is it so stalled? Why are you not achieving the next thing? Why are you not getting to the next level? And sometimes it is just a capacity as a leader. You don't have the right people around you. And sometimes it's all in your head. And we get locked into, this is what we do, this is how we do it, this is how we sell, this is how we speak to customers. And oftentimes when we get in that channel of nothing can change the state, can ever change because this is the way we do it, we've literally stalled ourselves out. And that's usually when I start to see the businesses start to decline. And that's also where I start to see entrepreneurs lose their passion, right? They don't like what they're doing as much as they used to because it isn't fun anymore, right? Now it's hard and it's sticky and it doesn't work right. And so part of it is assessing what the business is doing, but the other part of it, and quite frankly, the bigger part, is what is going on with the leader, with the entrepreneur. Like, why are we stuck? Because when entrepreneurs are not stuck, their businesses are not stuck. So usually when the business is having problems, it's actually something that's happening with the entrepreneur themselves that has caused the friction. And so we have to figure that out and dig into that a little bit. So that's at the core of everything I do. Of course, we have lots of products and we sell things, but the core of it is those two things.
Okay. So could you give us one or two case studies? I mean, not naming the business, how you help them?
Sure. So like I said, I work with family-run businesses. So, some of you may have had the opportunity to experience running businesses with family members, and that just in and of itself is a joy as well as a nightmare, depending on the day. And so, there's usually what we're doing is we're dealing with generational issues, right? Mom or dad or grandpa or grandma is the leader, and we've got this next level of leaders that are rising up. And invariably in those situations, and even when you're not working with a family business, invariably there's going to be tension between upcoming leaders and senior leadership, whether it's family or not. So what I find myself doing a lot is navigating those waters between a senior leader who is really kind of in that stage of their life where they're wanting significance, they want to give back, they like the visibility, but they're also a little fearful of the pace. Young leaders come in, they've got drive, determination, they're trying to acquire, they're trying to establish. So there's this friction of energy that occurs between a senior leader and the upcoming leader. So a lot of what I have to do is navigate that and try to make a place for the senior leader where they feel valued, and an up and coming leader where we can tap into all that amazing talent. So almost every story I could tell you is some kind of friction point between those. Sometimes it works out really well and that company thrives through that. Other times we're actually looking at separating. So we're breaking off divisions, or we are changing the business in some way to support all of that talent in a way that the talent doesn't cause so much friction that the family or the business actually fractures and ceases to exist as a result of the tension. So really the case studies are all about that. Like individual stories, I can tell you everything from fists punching through walls to threats of gun violence to divorces to I hate that person and I won't even sit in the, all the way to this is the most amazing thing we've ever done and thank you so much and we're going to triple our business in the next 6 months because. So there is a wide spectrum of things that can happen when we're dealing with those dynamics.
Okay, so just 1 second. Okay, so before we throw it up to a bit of questions, what is the way forward? You started your own podcast, and are you dealing with mostly agriculture? You specialize in agricultural family-run businesses.
Yeah, we have about 90% of our business is in the agricultural space, and in the United States, the ag sector is a very huge. It's huge businesses. We've got farms here that are worth millions, if not billions of dollars due to the land value. So it's a very huge market. It's an underserved market. So not a lot of people know how to deal with farmers and agricultural people. So I'm fortunate to be one of those that gets to work with all those very dynamic personalities. They're a little bit different than your traditional entrepreneurial business for sure.
Okay, so we have a couple of people who have just joined us right now. So Prasad, could you quickly introduce yourself? One-line introduction.
Yeah, myself Prasad Patki. I'm into commercial interiors and commercial leasing. We provide corporate companies, offices and the spaces as per the requirement in India.
Thank you. Chaitali, you just joined us. Chaitali, could you please introduce yourself? Mic off.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Chaitali Mehta. I'm from EKF Global Logistics Private Limited, and my company deals in international logistics and supply chain. Thank you.
Thanks. Amey, could you introduce yourself?
Yeah, just a second. Hi, I'm Amey. I'm Amey Katkar. I'm into business of digital marketing for last 8 years. We mainly focus on B2B space, and we serve customers across India and the globe. Thank you.
Thanks. Sunil, could you please introduce yourself? Sunil? Sunil, your mic is off. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Sunil Devnani. I am from InnoFit Systems. We manufacture accessories for ergonomic accessories for office furniture.
Thanks, Sunil. Marishi, could you please introduce yourself?
Yeah. Hi guys, my name is Maharshi Kanatra. We run a CACS firm called ProCounts where we handle all entrepreneurs through their compliance and accounting needs.
Thanks. And you managed to shave off everything, your beard and all?
Yeah, the quarantine effect.
Okay. Hitesh, could you please introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, I'm Hitesh Pahuja. I'm a bespoke tailor by profession with my brand HP's from Missouri. I deal into products like suits, shirts, and trousers. And also a part of what I do is styling and wardrobe management. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, so I'll open the floor to a bit of questions before I can think of some more questions for Rena. So I'll just open the floor. Anybody has got any questions? And this is a business consultant. Yeah, Patki's hand has gone up the first. Before him, anybody else? Okay, Patki, you asked first. Yeah.
Thank you. See, I have very fond memories of Rena because we used to have those trainings, and I think our LTRT in Executive Enclave at Pali Hill. So I have very high regards for her. What I want to ask her is actually what are the good traits she found in Indian entrepreneurs she met, the SMEs she met during her stay in India, and what is the scope for improvement? What are the things she says she feels are lacking, which are required in our entrepreneurs?
So one of my favorite words that you all taught me is the word gujard. Did I say it right?
Jugad.
Yes, it's one of my favorite words. And I even use that today. And that is one of my favorite things about you as entrepreneurs is that you never see a no, you will figure out how to make it work. And, you know, being an American, being in India, America has it very easy. You all know that business here is very simple. It takes like 15 minutes to start a company online. Like you don't even have to see anybody. And so that was one thing I was always very inspired by all of you is that I would be frantic and like, oh, why doesn't this work? And you'd be like, chill, it's no problem. We'll just call some people. We'll get it done. And you would always get it done. So that was always amazing to me. I think that's one of the things that I think is just remarkable about the business community in India is the ability to get things done without losing your mind. In America, we lose our mind. You know, the word no here like freaks us out and we act like a bunch of crazy people. So that's one thing that you are always so calm, like no problem, we will get this done. 5 phone calls and it's handled. One of the things though that I think, you know, and I definitely am not in a position to offer much advice really, because, you know, the thing about Indian business, it runs so differently from other countries. You know, you have a way of doing it. Your culture is stuff, you know, it has a certain structure to it. But one of the things that I would say that I was, you know, always excited when I saw it, and I didn't always see it all the time, is the sort of creativity within how you could leverage the people inside your businesses. You know, India runs with a lot of people doing a lot of small things. And in America, we run, you know, very few people doing a lot of things. So we kind of have an opposite approach to labor, and for good reason, right? You have a lot of people, we don't have so many people. So one of the things though that I always felt was that there was lots of talent inside your companies, lots of creativity, lots of ideas, lots of people looking at what was happening. And I think that there oftentimes wasn't a real thought that we should tap into all of that talent. So, you know, I don't know a lot about all of your businesses, but that would be one thing that I would say in today's age is it does take a lot of people with a lot of ideas in order to shift the way we do things and to find the efficiencies. Because I think the businesses of tomorrow, we're going to use more technology. We are going to get more streamlined. We are going to be needing less people and more technology. I mean, even in my business, just in this quarantine, in 3 weeks, my business looks completely different. I work on site with clients. I have not left this little office space for a month, and all of the business, every meeting I've had is done this way and through this Zoom, and you know, including strategic planning sessions with 22 people, we did it through Zoom. So this stage of our evolution as a business community for the next few weeks, if we're not learning something from it, learning how to do things differently, more efficiently, take our products to market, it's going to be a real sad thing. I know, like Dr. Sanjeev, I mean, yeah, you're never going to be able to do surgery via Zoom. I don't think, like, that would be crazy. But you know, and so it may be a little harder for some businesses, but we all should be learning something from this time about what are the small things that we can do more efficiently in terms of how we're dialoguing. Okay. Like, do people need to come to see us for everything, or can we do some of this stuff? Can we automate things? Can we, you know, what can we be doing that is going to save us time and ultimately money? my business, certainly I am learning something new every day. And I don't really have any intention of changing back to the old model once we're cut loose to get back in front of people. There's amazing how much more I've gotten done in the last couple of weeks than what I would normally do, because some of my clients, just to give you scope of how far I travel, I may be driving 11 hours to get to a client, because taking an airplane makes no sense. It actually takes longer to take airplanes. So, you know, there's going to be just some things I think that we will change forever, more than likely, as a result of this.
Great, thanks.
Awesome. Thank you.
Rena, just to share, are you using a special webcam over there?
I am, yes.
Yeah, okay. So that's why it's so clear. So you can see the clarity of her, you know, and I think you're using natural light coming in to shine on that face of yours.
Yeah, I've got some morning light coming in.
Yeah,
So that may
okay.
be part of it.
Great. Okay. Hitesh had a question. Hitesh?
Hi. I wanted to know that if business is with two generations, like previously until 3 to 4 years back, I was working with my father. The primary reason for me starting my own label was difference of opinion. You know, difference of everything basically related to business. And I want to know how to bridge that gap if there comes in a future opportunity for, you know, trying to work together as, like, you know, companies. And in case of, like, you know, involving more members of the family, how to deal with those dynamics, because everybody thinks that their point of view is the most correct. And, you know, because it's a family thing, you know, people tend to hold authority over one another, and then they don't, you know, respect whether whose vision is clearer. Everybody thinks to have, like, you know, a better view at things in their opinion. So how to deal with that?
Yeah. So Hitesh, I love this question. This is probably the #1 question of family businesses. And it's most frequently asked by the younger generation, because the older generation, they know they have the trump card on pretty much everything. Yeah. So here's what I would say, and I'm going to give you some family dynamic basics just to lead into this conversation. But I usually use really simple terms with my family. So in family business, there is a family and there is a business. And when we're in the family, we wear a family hat, right? So these are the family dynamics of father to son and brother to brother and nephew to cousin. And, you know, that's where that lives. When we go over here, we put on a different hat, right? Now we're in business. And business does not have the hierarchy of the family, or it shouldn't, right? So we're stepping into a new dynamic where the hierarchies of the family are not as important as the gifts and talents and structure of the business. So when we're working with family that does business together, we have to treat those dynamics as business dynamics. So we do things like have very clear contracts. We do not rely on verbal agreements. We actually write things down and we create contracts. Here's what I am responsible for. Here's what you're responsible for. Here's how we're going to work it out if it doesn't work well. The other thing is that we actually create a sort of documents that say, if you are family and you are going to be employed in this business, here is the policy for that. So that will, you know, that kind of creates structure for talking to family members coming in. Just say, we won't just create a job for you. There has to be a job where you can provide value. Here is how you will go through an application process. Here's how you will be hired. Here's who you are going to be supervised by. Because usually, sometimes it's not always a great idea to have fathers, you know, or mothers supervise their own children, because invariably you're going to get the family dynamic in there, right? So the things that you can do is just take the family out of the equation for purposes of setting up the structure. How would you talk to that man or that woman if they were not related to you? How would you go into business with someone if they weren't related to you? And you do kind of the same things, right? Obviously, there's a lot more history there, so you know what you need to be careful of because you've watched these people your whole life. Well, whatever you've seen them do in life, that's what they're going to do inside your business. And so what do you need to get clarified and put structure around to make sure that those things outside of your business don't derail or sabotage the success of your business? So that's kind of families working together 101. And it can be a little difficult because, quite frankly, people are resistant to those conversations until they recognize how much money they lose because the dynamics get in the way. So you've already had a decision where you left. You just said, I can't work with you. I'm going to go over here and do this thing. So they know the consequence of not having those conversations. So if you were ever to consider it, I would go back into it as if that was not your family member, but it was another strategic partner. How would you handle that? What would you do to protect yourself? I would do the exact same thing in terms of your family.
Got it. Thank you so much for that. It was really insightful.
Great. Okay, we had before Abhijit, somebody else had pulled a trigger. Maharishi.
Yeah. So, hi Rena. One question that strikes me right now, amidst the COVID or before that or after that, what is that one skill that every entrepreneur requires or should develop or should have if you are to make a billion-dollar company? That one skill without which, no entrepreneur can maybe survive or grow or run his company. What would that one skill be?
Okay, so I'm going to give you two because I think they're equally important. So one is creativity. The second is adaptability. So you have to be creative to see what's happening around you. The way that I look at this is COVID is right here, right? And we have everybody living in fear on this side, right? All the scary stuff. Then on this side of the line, we have everybody that's like, oh, it's just a joke, it's a conspiracy, it's a lie, it's fine, right? So we have everybody living in high optimism over here. Entrepreneurs in any situation have to be right here in the middle. They have to be aware of everything here. They have to be aware of everything here. And then they have to be ready to be able to quickly sift and figure out where's the opportunity. Because inside fear, there's a tremendous amount of opportunity. These people are locked down. They're not moving. They're not making decisions. They are paralyzed because they're afraid something might change. This group over here is oblivious because it's going to be fine. Everything is going to be okay. Now, it's a healthier mindset over here. However, there's still a lot of opportunity because these people aren't necessarily seeing the reality of the situation. So if entrepreneurs can stay right here, be really creative and observant, and be ready to flow into those opportunities, the billion-dollar businesses are going to come out of these next 6 weeks, for sure. They're coming out of this time because we've got all of these paralyzed people living here.
Super, thanks.
Great. Okay, after that, we had Prasad, you had a question.
Yeah, hi Rena.
Hi Prasad.
Yeah, I'm into a real estate advisory sector. Basically, what is going on currently is there are so many discussions is going on that the companies are from US wanted to come to India, and at the same time they wanted to have the smaller offices to take to start with rather than the earlier thought process. So I'm looking out for the connects also, and your opinion also. What is the current thought process which is going on there?
So I'm actually in a mastermind group that has a significant amount of real estate agents and brokers in that particular group. And what is happening right now in the United States is there's a lot of construction that's happening. So construction has been listed as a necessary industry. So construction is happening, but because of the lockdown, we're not having all of the sales that typically occur because people can't get into properties to view them unless they are empty. So right now we have a lockdown, quite frankly. However, the investors, again, because remember we're right here and investors are looking for the opportunities. The investors are going crazy right now because everybody out here is paralyzed. And so, I would suspect that there are going to be people who are looking for opportunities and they are getting ready to move into those. I think most people, especially the investor world, is really understanding that there's going to be a dramatic shift in business at the way we understand it. People, I mean, America is working from home for the first time ever, right? Almost every American is set up now to work in their homes. Yeah. And their kids are all home right now. So school is being done from home. And I would imagine, particularly in America, there is going to be true resistance to actually going back into the workplace. People are going to want to stay home.
Okay. Yeah.
Right? So there is going to be a shift. So what I would recommend for anybody to do is, really get into, Facebook chats are going crazy right now. People are producing live videos. So find those people that are in industries that you are wanting to figure out what they're doing, because everybody's home and everybody's just putting mass content out into the world. I think you'll be able to learn a lot. I think you'll be able to figure out what the play is going to be, and then you can shift yourself accordingly.
Yeah, sure.
Great. Kavya, you there or she logged out? I think Kavya logged out. 1 second. Abhijit, you have a question?
Hi, Rena.
Hi, Abhijit.
Hi. It's interesting to listen to you, and very, very pertinent points that you brought in about how life is going to change. And on the same lines, I had a question that when you say a lot of things are going to change, definitely they're going to change. However, from an individual perspective, which are those very specific things you think now people will give priority to? At an individual and a social perspective, post-COVID, how priorities are going to change?
Well, I would say that India is going to change differently than the US, right? The US has a very disconnected society. Like, we are not close to families the way that you are close to families in India. We are not even close to friends. Even our friend network is very different here. So, what I see happening in the US is probably going to be fairly different than India, just because your social networks were already much stronger than ours were. You may be feeling now like, oh my gosh, this is way too much family time now. We already had a lot and now we have more. So you all may be really excited to get back to being able to get away from family a little bit. But so I can't predict really what will happen on your side, but I will say, it doesn't take very much to watch and see what people are loving about this situation, what they're thankful for, and what they're really getting irritated about, right? So there's good and bad in this, right? There's some things that people are really embracing and they're loving and they're really excited about it. And then there's other things that people are really vocal that they are not liking about it. And so inside your own communities and inside your own culture, I think you'll have a much better perspective on that. But those are the things that I am listening for right now, because those are the opportunities, right? And that's where you can kind of see the predictors of what could potentially happen when we're free to choose how we're going about. I will say that in the United States, they're talking about having social distancing in play until 2022.
My God, whoa.
So they are talking about, opening up restaurants, but you can only have, everybody has to be sitting 2 tables apart. So it's going to be limited into who can go in. They're talking, yesterday they were even talking about that the handshake was going to be obsolete, that we were no longer going to shake hands. So in America, they're talking about some pretty dramatic changes to the way we do business, the way we interface with people, the way we connect. So I would say probably in your world, you're hearing some of those things as well. It may be different than the United States, but just listen closely and see what you can see inside the patterns. And that will help you decide where your opportunities are going to be in India that may be very different from what we're going to have opportunities in the US.
Okay. Ashwini, you had a question. Mike.
Hi, Rena. Can you hear me?
Hi,
Yeah,
it's so
hi.
good to see you.
Thank you. So I have a simple question, though it's very important this, from my perspective. In these times of uncertainty, what are the three things you will advise every entrepreneur client you have to do to stay positive so that he gets those brilliant, innovative ideas to incorporate in his business?
So that is a great question. So this is where we kind of come into mindset and habits, right? So every client that I'm working with right now, we've got some personal things that need to shift. So some of my clients are very extroverted. They die without their people contact. And some of my clients are very introverted and they're like, oh, hallelujah, this is the best life has ever been because I don't have to see anybody. So one of the things is watch your routine. What does your daily routine look like today? Are you getting up? Are you getting your workouts in? Are you establishing habits around your work? Are you doing things that will feed your mind every day? Doing things that will feed your creativity, your just keeping yourself healthy, both mentally, spiritually, and physically. Okay, so that's really important. The second thing that I would say is what are the ideas that you've had in your brain for a long time and your excuse has always been, I don't have time. Okay, well, here is your opportunity. This is your window. So what I would say is, pull those things out. Journal every day. Get your tea in the morning. Journal. Get your coffee. Get your thoughts. What's happening first thing in the morning, as you're waking up. Spend just a little time every day in those kind of habits because those are the things that create structure. Don't let yourself go into a completely unstructured environment. Entrepreneurs have very busy, full days. And right now, some of us are experiencing a different kind of full day. So you've got to keep really sharp on that. The third thing I'll say, and this is completely different than what we've been talking about, but look at your continuity plan for your business. Most people do not have continuity plans because we thought, oh gosh, nothing will ever change. The world is going to keep spinning exactly as it is. My habit is going to stay the same. My resources will be the same. My product will be as viable. Look at what is sort of causing you stress and strain today. That's probably an opportunity to look at your continuity plan to say, we were not prepared for a shift. We were not prepared for a dramatic change in the way we do business. And so there's some opportunities here to sort of disaster-proof your business. And so those are kind of the things that I'm working with every client. It's hard to plan for a disaster when you've never had one. And so here we are in this amazing opportunity to look at what we've been doing and make sure that we are sort of shoring up our companies to do better the next time. So those are kind of the three things that I would say are really important in this time because we might not ever have this opportunity to do some of those things in this way again.
Thank you so much, Rena.
Great. Anybody else has got any questions? Anybody's got a question before I start asking? Sunil, any questions? Neeraj, Nile?
Sam, can I?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Hi, Rena. I am
Hi.
Pratap. Yeah. So basically, we are experiencing some dramatic shift with respect to the education sector in the US. So basically, what are your thoughts? Because a couple of the acquaintances whom we meet, they are saying that the education industry may cut down on the fees with respect to universities, may go a different way. So what are your views on the education industry in the US, especially for students who will want to go and study from different regions?
Yeah, so it's really interesting. One of my clients is actually a college. So we've been dealing with this right up front and center because they shut down, and every college in the United States is shut down and students are at home. And most colleges are doing a pass-fail system for this semester, which if I was a college student right now and we were doing pass-fail from home, I would be like, woo, woo. So this has been, something that the United States was not prepared for. We were not set up to do school this way. So I do think that there is going to be a shift because, again, I think that people are going to see that it is possible to do college a different way here, and they are going to want that. So I don't think, though, that it will change some people's opinion of the college experience, which is we go to school, we get away from home, we develop friendships, we're in clubs, we travel as a university. So I don't think that there is probably going to be as dramatic of a change in the education sector, but I do think it will open up the possibilities that people are going to have more opportunities to do remote learning. Because miraculously, we found out that every university in the United States is capable of it. And they did it very rapidly. They got it all online within 2-3 weeks.
Yeah.
So I would say that probably there's always going to be that core opportunity to learn the traditional way, always. But I do think we'll have some remote learning opportunities, and that is going to require technology and better technology. So I'm not sure that that's a helpful answer, but that's what I would predict. That's certainly what the university that I am working with, that is what they are examining. And they're moving things along very rapidly. So I don't think it's going to be too long for us to see how quickly that will transpire into the new way of education in the United States.
Super. Kavya, you have joined us back?
Yes, Sampath, I'm back again.
Yeah.
Had a
No problem,
shoot-related inquiry. Sorry about that. Yes.
So you can ask Rena your question.
Yes. Hi, Rena. Hi, Kavya this
Hi,
side.
Kavya.
And it's actually lovely hearing you because it's amazing the kind of perspectives you're sharing. I just wanted to quickly ask you, post this lockdown, what are the top 2 industries that you see will flourish much more than before, and top 2 industries that may perish or may not do as well as they're doing now?
Well, I think honestly, we're going to see some massive shifts in funding going into medical, medical devices. We're certainly going to see a lot go into pandemic virus prevention. So there is no doubt that there is going to be a tremendous amount of visibility on those sectors. I think the other thing is we've seen a massive disruption in the food supply chain here. A massive disruption. Last week, we had some of our livestock processing facilities were shut down. So in America, as you all know, we are meat eaters here, and we rely very heavily on meat. And that is going to cause a disruption in the availability of those products. The other thing that I've been constantly shocked about is that there are things that are not on our shelves, which we always have just abundance of. So we do not have pasta on our shelves. We do not have rice on our shelves. We do not have, every time I go into the grocery store, those huge big sections of our massive grocery stores are empty. So the food chain disruption is going to be a major, and I think we're seeing that worldwide, right? We are seeing food is not getting to people. And so I think that that's going to be a world problem, just like some of these medical opportunities are going to be, is how do we protect our food chain, and how do we make sure that we are prepared for the next pandemic?
Interesting. Thank you so much.
Great.
You're welcome.
Nile, you had a question?
Yeah. Hi, Rena.
Hi.
Yeah, hi. So I'm into co-working business. So we've got a couple of companies in co-working spaces. So as you all know, co-working is one of the badly hit sectors in this lockdown, along with cafes, restaurants, and other brick and mortar based businesses. So we are also seeing some shift happening, not some, but a drastic shift happening. So there's concept of remote work that has come up, people working from home. And so our visualization is that we see that people working from home and then gradually shifting to maybe co-working spaces or offices which are close to home. So they have to avoid commute. So in India, people commute anywhere between 2 to 3 hours a day. So they save on that commute time. So they save on that commute time, and that's how we see. that people will move gradually to spaces, and corporates will also take some spaces nearby their employees' residence and provide an alternate office space. But we are not sure that how soon the shift will happen, whether people will be skeptical about going back to offices. And so, what do you think about that?
You know, I think that you're probably on, excuse me, I think I have to sneeze. No, maybe not. Maybe so. Okay, nope, I don't. Of course, as soon as I said I had to sneeze, then I didn't have to sneeze. But I think that you are probably in one of those amazing industries where you, if you can anticipate it, you are going to win big time on this. Okay. So my guess, and this is just a guess, right? This is just a human behavior guess, which is about as predictable as, you know, winning the lottery. But what I would say is that there are going to be people who recognize how much time they waste in that 2.5-hour commute, which adds up to 5 hours a day that they spend stuck in traffic, stuck on a bus, stuck on a train. And they're going to say, if we could work from home for all this time, why do we have to give up those 5 hours? And I do think that companies are going to recognize that there is a massive savings for them as well if their workers are not doing that. If they are getting more time at home, they're more productive if they're less tired, they're less stressed, they are less apt to shift jobs all around if the job is more convenient to their home. So I would say that one of the things that you should be doing during this time is talking to as many people that would be decision makers about those kind of things to make sure that they know you are there, available, ready to help. And that, you know, even from the virtual space, if you can figure out how to, you know, provide those virtual assistants, the technology piece, you know, those kind of things, I think you're going to find that you're already on the front of that curve because you're already set up in that space. You've just got to let people know that you are there and that you are the expert, and you can be really adaptable because you've already got the infrastructure in place. So you're probably going to find you have a massive opportunity if you just get out in front of that and make sure that you capitalize on it.
Sure, thanks.
Great, great. Rena, you know, it's like almost 40 minutes we've been talking. I didn't realize it's like, you know, 8 o'clock. What time is it there in the US right now?
9:30 in the morning.
Ah, okay. So I think US and Indian time is like good for you, good for me.
Absolutely. I'm still having my morning coffee, so I'm just content. This is like the best morning I've had in weeks. This is amazing.
And how about your friendly animals? You have any cats or dogs right now with you?
I do. I have 2. They hate Zoom. As soon as Zoom comes on, they're like, we are out of here. We don't like all this loud noise, and we can't run across the desk and do things we want to do. So they leave. But yeah, I've got 2 cats. So at least I'm not totally lonely in this space. We've got lots of shenanigans happening.
That's not Indian cricket, no? The cat's name?
No, India and cricket are still in India, actually. But now we've got Finn and Roo, so they're giants. They're 17 pounds each. They're very big cats. So yeah, they're like dogs. They're as crazy as a dog and as destructive as a cat.
Yeah, okay. So Rena, coming to a couple of closing questions from me is, how do you think networking is going to change? Because right now everybody wants physical networks, everybody wants it, and suddenly they realized, I don't need to go for a meeting. I could be sitting in my jammies and shorts. I don't have to wear a coat and a tie. I can meet people. We can do business online. We can transact online. One of the biggest change which we have noticed is India has gone like totally digital. So today, we don't have to go to banks. It's happening over, we have created such a beautiful stack of, NEFT and all these kind of stuff. So our banking has gone totally digital. So how do you think the networking market is going to shift?
I think we're going to have to work really hard at networking now, quite frankly, because of the tendency to be in our jammies and to be a little more casual in this space. When we're networking, we're in the old world. We are getting dressed, we're going out, we're meeting in coffee shops, we're meeting in offices, we're going with kind of our selves put together and ready to do business. there is a casualness now to the fact that I can put on something on top and I can be in my sweatpants on the bottom. And, you know, I've noticed that some people are showing up at these calls like really in a bad way, like, you know, not doing the shower even. And I'm kind of like, whoa, that's not a good look. So I think we have to be really careful. And I noticed that coming out of India, some of your stylists have been actually putting out video content about how to present yourself in a virtual world. So I've actually been learning a lot of things from all of you over there in terms of, you know, how do we present ourselves well? How do we create, you know, an environment that looks like we are ready to do business, that's not so full of distractions that people get really like, what's going on behind that guy? Like, what is that piece of art? Like, what's going on with her hair? You know, there's all these little things now that we're literally staring at each other and we can start making judgment calls about people. And so I think it's going to be really important that we really sharpen up our visual, like our visual presence on social media. I think the other thing is too, is that we're going to have to do a really good job about executing on what we agree on. So like if I'm in a video call and I can't get to you, so I'm not going to be able to go there, I'm going to have to rely on the fact that you will do what you say you will do for me. You will make the phone calls, you will take the time, you will send the email. And so I think we're going to have to work really hard at being really accountable to our words and our actions and making sure that we're doing good follow-up after, because, you know, if you're in a coffee shop, you're probably taking some notes, you're taking things down, you're agreeing to things, and we're going to have to bring all those good habits into our virtual networking that we have in our physical networking. And I think the group meetups are such an amazing thing, right? To just be able to pull 20 people together to have a conversation, to learn together. I think these are going to continue to be incredibly important because we are going to realize that there is an efficiency to time. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to lose the efficiency that we have gained as a result of this particular situation. I don't really want to go back to the old way. I don't really want to spend 5 hours going to have a conversation when I could sit here and have 10 conversations and get, you know, it's a compression of time that we've got an ability to do right now where we can compress more into the same time that we had previously. So I would just really encourage all of you to look at that very carefully and say, what do we need to do to get super good at this, to be credible just like we would be in a physical way, even though we're virtual? Because I think we can connect really well this way. I think we can do a good job, but some people are definitely not taking advantage of it. They're really blowing it.
So just to share with you, we started this group about 3 weeks back. So initially we had about 20 members, and you remember you were on Jam with Sam, and that episode never came out because you says, no, I can't have that episode coming out. So I'm going to hold you to ransom. I still got it somewhere, hiding.
Okay, well, I just want you to know that now enough time has passed between those stories that I told, and I'm actually coming out with a book this year that has those stories in it.
Oh, wow.
So
okay.
When I publish the book, you can release the episode.
Okay.
It's only going to be like 4 years late, but it'll now be fully out in the world, all of the crazy things I didn't want to own up to back then.
Super. So one of the things, what are 3 top things which should be part of any business network?
Oh gosh, I think that hasn't changed very much. You know, I think it really is a lot about, you know, efficient use of time and making sure that people feel like they have a platform to not just receive, but also to give. I think that you've got to have, again, it goes back to people, right? If you feel like that group of people has nothing for you, you won't stay involved with that group, right? You have to feel like there is something there for you. And I think in networking, a lot of people, especially if they're very good networkers, they want to level up. So they don't want to just hang out with people that they could put together really easily by themselves. They want access to that next group of professionals. Who are the people that can teach them things, you know, boost them, give them access to that next level of network? And I think the other thing is too, is that even in a virtual world, we are depending on the people that we're networking with to be of good character and good credibility and do what they say they're going to do, and not come in with just a bunch of BS that is going to make everybody crazy because it's just all posturing. I think we're going to get really intolerant of posturing if we're going to be working in a digital world. We don't have time for it. We don't have time for the bragging and the showboating and the name dropping of people that they don't have any access to really. It's the cousin's brother, cousin that is the connection. So I think that those things are going to be even more critical in the virtual space, because we're not going to have any time or tolerance for all that other nonsense that sometimes happens when we're in a physical world together.
Great. Reshma, you just joined. Reshma, do you have any question to ask before Maharishi asks the final question?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
You're good, okay. Reshma, could you introduce yourself at least?
Yeah, hi. I'm Reshma Kumar. I am the founder of H2H. We are a home decor company which works with Indian and Japanese artisans.
Thanks. Great. Okay, Maharishi, you had one more question.
Yeah, the last one. Sorry to trouble you, Rena. Just one thing. I've got this query from a lot of my clients. They are into the product industry. You know, they deal with products and not with services. With services, we can go digital. You know, make various things. What do the product people do? Like some of them have shifted to medicine or pharma. They've got their, you know, people who can give them. But what about people who are completely unaware? What do they do? Because it is presumed that there will be a second wave of COVID or another lockdown when comes in. So what do they do now that next time they are through it, for the product industry specific?
So we see a lot of really creative things happening here, and I'm sure you do there as well. One of them is commingling different product offerings. So I see entrepreneurs like coming together as a group and saying, let's not make the clients find you and you and you. Let's put it all together in one place that a client can come in and see all of it all together. So I see a lot of folding in of using joint e-commerce sites to market things together. And so then not only do I have access to my clients, but now I have access to your clients and your clients. So now I have access to 3 times the people. I also can then optimize. I can, you know, get things out in the market. We can commingle our dollars or our rupees, which is then going to make it more powerful because we're marketing one site with 3 product lines, with 3 entrepreneurs and all of their resources and networks. So that's one thing that I'm seeing that I think is going to be a game changer, right? We're not going to feel like I am an island and everybody around me is a competitor. It's like, who can I partner up with that we are complementary and we bring it all together in-house in one space and we split the costs. So that's one thing that I would say people should definitely look at if you've got a product. The other thing is too, is look at everything that you've got that is paper-based. What can be converted to digital so that I can get things out to clients really quickly in a digital way so things become accessible? What am I as an entrepreneur putting out in terms of education? So, you know, right now, the big movement is who is going to get out there and be sort of that intellectual leader? Like, who is going to go out and talk about, you know, why is it important to have something in your house? Why is it important to look at this in terms of plumbing? Why is it important to, you know, do whatever it is? So every product that we sell in the physical world has a reason why that product is necessary or needed, and how can we educate? So it might not be to the, you know, the individual consumer, it may be educating back into the industry. And so how are you being known? Are you being known as the expert, or are you just waiting and hoping somebody's going to land on your site and buy something? So, you know, really getting out there, being visible as the entrepreneur, as the expert, as a leader, as someone who has knowledge, experience, and talking about, you know, how you know, do whatever it is that you want them to do, but educating the population so that the population knows you not just as the guy that sells the widget, but you're the guy that taught them why they should buy the widget. That's going to be really huge in the new market. It's going to be huge.
Super. Thanks for
Great.
that. Thanks for that.
Great.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Great, guys. It's been good networking, good knowledge sharing. And we'll be back tomorrow with Dr. Dilip Nadkarni. Rena, if you could just stay online, I just wanted to have a quick conversation with you.
Absolutely.
And,
thank you, everybody. It's so great to see you.
Thank you, Rena.
Thank you very much, Rena. Thank you. Your inputs were really.
Thank you so much, Rena.
Amazing
Thank you.
listening to you.
Thank you,
Thank
Rena.
you.
Thank you.